All right, awesome. Thank you for joining us, everyone. We have another episode of Mission Briefing. I'm very excited because today we have Danielle Mann with us. Hello, Danielle.
Hey Kurt.
And we are going to be taking a look at something that's new called Apollo Studio. And I'm not going to explain what it is. I will actually hand this over to Danielle, who is, I believe, heading up this project. Is that correct? Is that a safe
Yeah,
assumption? Yeah. Yeah, yeah, okay.
yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so actually, why don't I just let you say it instead of me guessing and fumbling around? Yeah, you want to take it away?
Yeah, sure. So Studio is something that we have been building for the last several months and are planning to land as part of our product that you can visit at engine.apollographql.com like end of June, should all of these stars align and pieces come together correctly. It's new surface area entirely for Apollo's cloud products. So Graph Manager, as many people might already know, is kind of all about seeing how your server is being used, seeing which clients are querying your graph, seeing which people are using which fields in your graph, and giving you all these tools to help manage the evolution of your graph. And Studio is going to be an entirely new surface area that allows people to connect to their graphs from within the app. And so, as you'll see when we visit it, it does have a lot of overlap right now with the features of GraphQL and Playground, but it's going to be embedded in our cloud product. And the long-term vision is to make it really easy for you to kind of collaborate with your team on queries and manage queries and like onboard your team members and stuff through kind of providing them with access to Studio and letting it kind of tell its own story.
Nice, awesome. Yeah, so that sounds really great, which is also why I've been so excited about this. When I always talk about this in reference when I was working at Major League Soccer, just because like GraphQL was a huge game changer when I was there, and one of the things that really allowed us to get the buy-in to do it was we when we had REST APIs, we would always create like basically an API browser, right? Like we would build this whole front end app so that you could go through and see the data that's available and do all this stuff. So when I showed graphical to product managers and the design team, and everyone was like, wait a minute, like we don't have to build this. Like it's not like another project that we also have to take on with our API. We just like get it for free. And I was like, yeah, yeah, you get it for free. But one of the issues that we quickly hit and realized was like, it's very easy to surface the data if you know like kind of what you're looking for, right? And it's like
Mm-hmm.
the door for collaboration kind of closes in graphical without like right there. Like we had to use like Jira and copy and paste queries into tickets and for QA and for design and for people to implement on UIs. And so just
Mm-hmm.
having that like unified source where everyone can go and collaborate and look at all these queries that exist and organize them, and it just that just sounds extremely pleasing, and that's why I'm like so pumped
Totally.
about this. Yeah, so this is very cool. I'm very happy that Apollo is taking the lead on this. So I guess I've shared the repository with everyone in the chat. So if you want to go check this out, you can. And you can try out Apollo Studio yourself right now if you kind of wanted to open it up and follow along with us. And you can get to that by this URL, engine.apollographql.com/studio. So I'm going to copy that link. Oh, a Morse code. Thank you for the follow. And yeah, and so that's in the chat as well. And so now I guess like without further ado, let's get Studio visible and let's like start taking a look at it. And you can kind of walk us through, what we got going on. Does it sound good?
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome. So we have Apollo Studio here, so you can see that we are at this URL. And one of the things, if you load this up, the first things that you'll notice is there is a drop down up here. And this will allow you to switch through the different APIs that are currently available to go through. We are going to be using the GitHub API to do this demo. And as such, I've already added a header, so I'm going to flip over. Please don't take my personal access token, but you will have to add an authorization header, and you can get your own personal access token for the GitHub API by going to settings, then developer settings, and creating a personal access token from there. So yeah, if you want to do that, then you can like literally follow right along with us. And so just to test and make sure everything was set up, we ran a single query, which is we're going for the user login, Kurt Kemple, which is me, that's me on GitHub, and then we just returned the login. But we could also query for other fields. And again, I'm hitting Control Spacebar as the shortcut, so it's like got that same feel as like you can use the IntelliSense and quickly figure out what fields are there. So that was really nice. So let's go get avatar URL, and then I'm gonna hit I think Command Enter. Yep, is gonna run the query, or you can press this button, and then oh, you did Command click to open URLs. Oh yes.
It's it's actually all free. So what
Wow.
we've done here is we've built this on top of Monaco as the
Ah,
code editor, and
yeah,
so it'll feel a lot like VS Code for anyone who's used VS Code. And then
yeah.
for free from Monaco, we get a huge number of the shortcuts that you're used to in VS Code.
Oh, that is so amazing. And I was gonna say it feels very VS Code-esque, like when using it. Yeah. So
Hmm.
now I could just command click and it opens up, and there's my face.
It's the same background you have now.
Yep. Uh,
There's one thing I'll add, Kurt,
yeah.
for anyone following along at home, which is that Studio is all about giving you a window to graphs that already exist in the Apollo registry. So for folks who are new to Engine, if you want to actually access the GitHub graph like we're looking at, you can go to demo.apollo.dev and sign up there, and that's basically a redirect to an invite link that will drop you into our example
Ah,
organization, which
cool.
is where I've put the GitHub graph for us today.
Got you. And that's demo.apollo.dev, right?
Yes.
Boom. Because I
Yeah.
cool. So I just shared that in the chat with everyone. Okay. Okay, cool. So like we've already run a query. We've already seen that it's powerful. We get a bunch of awesome shortcuts, and I'm not even. I'm like so anxious that I keep wanting to jump ahead and do things, but like it's not the right route. So I want to know like what would you like to kind of show off today? Like what do we got going on? Walk me through some of these features. I can't wait.
Okay. So the first the first thing that we focused on in building this out was really making sure that developers will like it and that it will have things that they expect and that it will not be insanely somehow frustrating to use for
Yeah,
developers, because developers are the people who use Playground and the people who use Graphical, and we needed to at least cover our bases
yeah,
and make a tool that at least had like was just as good as those.
for sure.
So if we focus on the panel editing experience first, you'll just notice that you have things that you should have. Like
Yeah,
we have syntax highlighting, we have linting. If you mess up one of these and like add an S or something, you'll get a squiggly line,
boom,
and you'll get
immediately.
like, yeah, you'll get like errors telling you what's up. You have control space to do autocomplete.
Wow.
You can also manage multiple queries here. So if you want to go and start a new query lower down in the buffer, um, below
Oh, right. I
the
have to do a
last,
whole. Yeah. Oops.
yeah.
Cool. Oh, wow. Look at that. And
Yeah, it like focuses what's
wow.
in focus and what's not.
What a
That's
touch.
kudos to, yeah, that's kudos to one of the engineers on the team
That's
who just did
genius.
that because he wanted it. And I was like, that's so perfect.
That
This
is
is exactly what
perfect.
I wanted us to be doing.
So somebody was asking, like, I use Discord a lot, and Discord does not have threads. And somebody who works there was asking, like, what is your ideal UI for threads? And my answer was, I don't want them nested. I would like threads to just be messages, but like if I click on a thread, like a name, it just dims out every other message that's not part of that
Mm.
thread. And this really reminds me of that experience. Like you're just focusing on just that. Everything else is there, but it doesn't matter. It's just dimmed out, makes it very easy to scan through and find what you need. So this is really cool. So like we could do something like let's do repository. And because, oh, wow. Look at that. So I just hit,
It's gonna get better. If you're impressed now, it's gonna get better.
I just hit tab and it already knows that name and owner are required, right? And so then that's just gonna, oh my goodness. All right, so the repository name, let's do curtiskemple.com, which is just like my website. And then the owner of that is K Kemple. And then let's go down in here and let's see, like, what do we want to grab? We could get, I wonder if I have a description. Let's find out. And then again, I'm just going to hit Command Enter and run this. And look at that. Amazing.
I'm impressed that worked. I thought you had to name your queries for this to work, but I guess the team has made it even better than Playground in that sense.
Yeah. Oh, but look, this anonymous operation must be the only defined operation. Interesting. They made it work. But yeah, but ideally you should name queries. And again, I'm rushing, but like
Yeah.
we should be responsible GraphQL citizens. And I should put this
Yeah.
like,
I
and
think you need that on line 8 instead of line 9.
oh, you are right. I do need that instead of
Mm.
adding a new one. Thank you. Do I write
Yep.
queries much? Apparently not.
It's always tough when live coding. I'm very impressed that you do it so much.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I do it all the time. I've just like embraced kind of not being great at it. Like even my personal website is branded as the worst dev, and it's just like if you set low expectations for yourself, you can only go up, you know?
Fair.
Yeah, cool. So now they're like named, which is neat. And if I'm not focused on one, they're both there, but like we can see run is disabled. And then as soon as the cursor, the focus is inside of a query, now I can run that. And it's even changing the name of, oh,
Hmm.
okay. All right. You won me over already. This is already such an amazing experience.
Okay, the next thing I'll point out is the stuff on the right. So we get your response data. It's showing up as JSON. There's like little foldable things in the gutter if you hover over the gutter. It's a little bit
Oh,
hidden,
yeah, I
but they
like
are
that.
there.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Very
And
nice.
then the other tabs. So we have response headers, which is pretty standard,
Yeah.
I would say. But also, I don't know, somehow something that never quite made it into graphical. Then we also have history. So history is cool because
This
it's
is
like a
wild.
time machine, and you can go backwards in time and it'll change your editor state to
No
be something.
way. Wow. There's going to be a lot of that. Sorry, folks. Get used to it. There's going to be a lot of oohs and ahs. I promise you that.
This one is, yeah, this one's really nice.
That is awesome. That's so cool. And it's even got the date. And so, like, if we could go back in time and I ran a bunch more queries, like, it's just the full history is there. And
Hmm.
what's this little download here? Download response.
Okay. It's
Oh, look at that.
download the
Uh-oh.
response of your query to a file.
Uh-oh. I think I just opened Xcode. Quit, quit, quit. Oh God. Oh God.
I I have that happen too on my Mac.
I need to
It's very
change.
sad.
Yeah, I need to change the default. Like, how dare you Xcode to think that like you're the app to handle JSON? You know, it's, it's that's so funny.
I'm with you.
Yeah, yeah. I was very surprised. I did a live stream with Ellen actually, and we did the intro to iOS, and I was running Xcode and streaming, and like my laptop survived. So, but my battery couldn't keep up. Like my battery was dropping even though I was plugged in. Like I was like, oh, we're on a time limit because my battery's
Oh,
gonna
that's so
die.
sad.
Well, we made it all the way through, thank goodness. But yeah, it was so funny. I was like, oh
Did
my
you get a new
gosh.
computer?
Yeah,
I
it's a
think
brand new. It's a
I think our
2019.
employer is supposed to sponsor these types of things for its employees.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Awesome. Cool. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, what else do you want to show me? Like, impress me more.
Okay,
I can't take
okay.
it.
Okay, so the next thing I'll point out is the stuff in the left panel.
Yeah.
So we call this left panel our like query builder slash our like docs light or explorer light.
Okay.
Um, and so actually, okay, before I jump into that, let's look at the SDL tab because it's much simpler
Ooh.
to explain.
Yeah, yeah.
your SGL. Ta-da!
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah, you got the full SGL for your schema here. It's massive because it's GitHub.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But it's
Monaco
here.
does all the virtualization for us, so it doesn't absolutely fall over trying to render it, which is nice.
That is nice. That's awesome. Yeah, this is really cool.
Yeah. Okay, so documentation. So what we're looking at is pretty standard GraphQL documentation, very similar to what you see in Playground and Graphical, in that we start with query and mutation. You can click into query, and we will show you all of the fields that you can query, and you can kind of click in a lot of different levels,
Whoa.
and we'll start tracking breadcrumbs for you,
Oh,
just
so cool.
right under that documentation label, so you can always hop backwards if you want to.
Oh, this is
What do you want
awesome.
to query for?
I'm sorry?
What kind of query do you want to build?
Ooh, that's a good question. What kind of query do I want to build? So I'm just like digging down just to get like deep into it. So I'm in a repository, but I don't have any variables in it yet, which we'll take care of. But I'm just gonna go into and let's look at like the latest commits. I think we could do that to a repository because then
If
we
you
can
could
get
just
like
see.
deep into it. Yeah, I need to. Oh wait, can I do like? Isn't there like a shortcut? Like am I
There
giving?
is a search.
Yeah.
We'll get there though.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't even know what I'm doing here. Let's just start picking things. Okay. Commit comments. Oh, but then I probably have to know the commits. Do you know much? I just haven't used this. Oh, forks. Let's
I
look at.
don't know much about their schema.
Me either. So let's just dig. Edges. Node, which is a repository. Somebody forked it. I would like to get, so this is a repository. I think we can get the owner.
At some
Owner.
point, you should click the plus buttons that are in that left panel.
Oh, here we go. Boop.
Yeah,
Whoa. Oh, and it auto filled the variables. Yo.
yeah.
Yo, I
Okay,
can't
so
even.
there's this principle of GraphQL is a graph. It's like a bunch of nodes and edges, and things are connected. And like many graphs with nodes and edges, you can end up in circles because types can
Yeah.
reference previous types and stuff.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at a schema, you can walk around that schema forever and never stop. But when you're building a query always has to start from either, sorry, when you're building
Yeah.
an operation always has to start from either a query, a mutation, or a subscription type, which would come off of the root type.
Yeah.
And so your queries always end up as trees, even though your graph is representing like this structure that can have these circular references.
Right.
And so the way we've done the docs, because you have to walk down and then walk back up, we always have the context of the path that you walked. And so at any point in the docs, because you walked down somewhere, we can say, do you want to add this thing? And if you add that thing to your query at that point, then we just basically put whatever breadcrumb path you walked
That
directly
is
into the
so
query.
awesome. Yes, which is exactly how we got organization to repository down to forks, edges, node, owner, login, which is wild.
Yeah, yeah. And then if you had any fields that had required arguments as part of that path, then we autofill the variable names for you, because variables are the most annoying thing to handle
So annoying.
when writing queries, especially in a schema that you don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. Yeah, and so just having these autofill, and it's like I don't even have to do any work. Like I just know what they are. I'm trying to
Mhm.
think. So let's see. I think some people have probably forked GraphQL auth. Let me see. And okay, but this is under user, so I'm going to change this to forks for repository. And then we don't need user anymore. So I'm just going to go ahead, clear that out. And now that looks good. Yeah, so let's run this. Not found. Could not resolve to an organization.
Oh,
Oh, because I did organization login. That's interesting. It's not an org. I have an idea.
Yeah, I guess you're not an org.
Yeah, I'm not an
I
org.
guess that makes sense.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah. So we'll switch it. Follow client, follow GraphQL. That's an org.
That's true. I hope it's an org.
Yeah, right. Missing pagination. I need to do a first and last. And that is something, I think that's going to go here. I want to say. Yep. First 10. Boom. There it is. Yeah. And what's interesting is that that did not auto add to the variables because it's technically not required. Like it doesn't have the Boolean next to it because you can do first or last, but then it will
Or
error if you don't do any. So these were the first 10 people to fork Apollo clients. Pretty interesting.
wow. I wonder when they forked them.
Yeah.
I
We
wonder how
can
close that
check.
was.
We can actually check by created at 2016.
2016.
That's wild.
Nice.
That's so
That is
cool.
wild.
This is
Yeah.
awesome. And again, here we are, all the way down at owner, and there's no question about how I got here. And it's very clear and easy to follow. There's always one thing, like I like the Explorer in graphical, but when you're in a big graph like GitHub, it gets very
Mhm.
confusing to figure out where you are. And it's also a bit intimidating to just have the whole thing there. And it's like I'm trying to scroll and dig through it, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I felt similarly. I had a prototype long before we built Studio that had a view of this that was very tree based. And
Yeah.
in many ways, I kind of liked that the tree showed you hierarchy, but in other ways, the tree really just shows you so much at once that if you
Yeah.
don't know exactly what you're doing, it's very overwhelming.
Absolutely. And I like that in this implementation, I get to focus at one level of data, which is where I am currently, which like is the mental model I apply to myself like when I'm writing resolvers and stuff. It's like you always think about like the level that you are within the graph and like, yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's cool.
There's another element of the query builder that I think is really
Yeah, yeah.
important to highlight, and it's not any features, it's just more a meta point.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the most challenging things with GraphQL, even for people who can read a query and look at that and basically say, like, I know what's going on, like a
Yeah.
technically minded person, say maybe it's a product manager or like a manager
Yeah.
or a new developer or something who hasn't just like sunken their teeth into GraphQL yet, you can look at a query and say, I get it, I see what's happening. But that's very different from being able to write a query quickly, intuitively, knowing the syntax, knowing
Yes.
exactly how to define a fragment or how to spread a like interface or how to even use the argument syntax correctly.
Yep.
And so, for example, like I was showing my boss what we've been working on maybe about a month ago with Studio, and he's a GraphQL expert in many ways, has contributed to the Federation spec,
Yeah.
can talk about GraphQL in way more complex ways than I can. But watching him write a query, he was like, huh, what's the syntax again?
Yeah.
And I was like, you don't even need to worry about that. Just use those plus buttons.
Yeah, which is
Um,
amazing.
so there's this element of like graphical playground. They are only used in organizations by the developers because they are basically an IDE. Like you basically do have to be writing code. You have to know what the syntax is. If you don't know, then either you're copying and pasting things in, or you're cross referencing the docs a lot, or you're like grepping through a repository to try and find queries there to start from. And one of our main focuses here is making it possible for people to access their data that they should be able to access while taking all of the overhead of the syntax and the fact that this is a language
Right.
and the fact that the query that you and I have built right here looks terribly scary, like
Terribly
taking all of that
scary.
away
Yeah.
and trying to like basically, I don't know, it's like a bowling with the gutters, just be like, you can't really mess it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've got you. help.
That's such a good analogy. Yeah, it's like you got the bumpers on, right? It's like we'll keep you within the guidelines. Like you just keep clicking plus,
Mhm.
and we'll get you where you're trying to go. And going back to the syntax thing, when we come back to variables too, one of the things that trips me up the most, and I have written so many GraphQL queries, is like I will notoriously forget to put dollar signs everywhere, and then it won't work, and I'm like, wait, what is happening here? What do you mean like this is incorrect? And I'm just like,
Yeah,
I don't know what's happening. And yeah, so like just getting that auto populated for you is a really nice feature. Yeah, this is
yeah.
so cool. And we are getting a lot of follows. Yeah, thank you everyone for all the follows. Apparently studio is a big hit. Yeah.
That's exciting. There's if you click into implementations here on the left for repository owner, you could pick user or organization.
Uh-huh.
And if you click some plus
Ooh.
buttons in there, it should spread the union for
Okay.
us.
Oh, cool. Let's see that. So I'll
I
do
hope.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that. It knows. Oh, so again, I'll have to do this just because it's not required. Let's do the first three. Let's get their first three repository name. Nope. Oh, it's repository, so we're gonna have edges, and then
Relay.
there's the. I know, right? Yeah. There's that, and then now we should be able to get a name. And so again, now we run this. Oh my goodness, look at this. This is so cool. And again, so it's just like I recently I was working on a project of trying to pull in metrics from GitHub, and I was trying to go through the API in graphical. I got where I was trying to get eventually, but there was a lot of places where I got caught up like this, dealing with the union types
Hmm.
and making sure I'm including things off the right thing. And this is just auto filling it for me. This could have saved me literally hours just on that one project. And so when you think
Yeah.
about that, like I spent a lot of time beating my head against the wall trying to build these queries out. And, this makes it so much faster.
Yeah. Well, okay. So maybe we should take a look at search then and jump into that because it's kind of a good segue.
Yes.
So
Yeah, yeah.
if you clear out your buffer or your like query editor here thing
Just get rid
for
of
a
all
second,
this.
yeah,
Boop.
I'll um I'll kind of describe the concept with search.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've been using GraphQL now since 2016, so like 4 years,
Yeah.
and I've always been on the client side of things. So I've always been a person writing queries,
Consuming the
but
graph.
yeah,
Yeah.
consuming the graph. But I've never been the person making the graph. So I've always been in the position of being a developer, a React developer who wants to build UI, build data viz, like build widgets
Yeah.
based on a graph, but not knowing intuitively exactly where things are placed in that graph because
Yep.
the way our team works, we just have like a backend focused team that's providing the schema and then a front end focused team that's
Yep.
consuming it and some people who cross.
That's
So, okay.
generally how most setups are. Like that's everywhere pretty much where I've been. Sometimes you have full stack mixed into that, but in most cases, somebody's a champion or responsible for the graph or a group, and then most people are consuming it. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
pretty standard.
And well, so in that position, it's interesting when you need to build a new UI or something because you find yourself thinking, I know that this must be in the schema somewhere. I know that the team landed this thing, like, but I don't exactly know
Where?
how to get to it.
Yeah.
And especially if your graph is anything from medium size and up, all of a sudden that becomes extremely hard to figure out.
Yep.
Because like you always have to walk from the top. So if you don't know where it is, you're just in this blind, I'm gonna walk around
Yeah. Yeah.
situation and see if I can find it. Um, and so, okay, so graphical and playground, they have search, which does help you figure out if something exists because for example, like
Okay.
I'm looking for avatar URLs. You know that avatar URLs must exist in the graph somewhere. You can figure out from playground search that they are somewhere. But the results that they show you are, yeah, there's an avatar URL in the account type. And you're like, cool. Okay, how do I get to the account type?
Yeah.
And then you find yourself searching for account, and then you're like, okay, there's like
Yep.
an account type that's returned from like this other type, and you basically end up doing your own like multi-step search both from the top and the bottom to try and find the middle point so you
Absolutely.
can figure out how to write this query.
Yep.
It's like one of my biggest annoyances being a graph consumer.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
so what we've done with search in Studio is try to really speak to that problem and make it so that if you know that something must exist in your graph, you can, one, validate that you are right, it does exist in your graph somewhere, and then two, make a query to that is low friction and trivially as possible. Taking away this whole like I have to like come from both ends and try and
Yeah.
walk to like the middle of the maze
That's
kind
almost
of situation.
like a wasn't that like a binary heap search or something? Like at the end of the day,
I don't know.
you like keep cutting in half and like trying to
Oh yeah.
figure
Yeah, I
it
don't
out.
remember what that was.
I don't remember either. I'm just making it up. But anyway, it's a pain in the butt. It's like if they have to
Yeah.
make an algorithm to like repeat that, you know what I mean? It's probably not something you want
Mhm.
to have to do yourself. So
Yeah. Okay, so you and I, we like 20 minutes ago, you made a comment, I'm looking for commits on a repository. And it got me thinking, I wonder if commits on a repository exist in this GitHub schema.
I wonder. I don't even
So
know.
if you hit that search icon or Command K, both work.
Okay. Oh,
You have
where's this?
the
Oh, so
search.
here's the search icon. Cool. Oh, look at those beautiful
Yeah,
tooltips. Sorry. That's just really nice. All right, cool. Command K. Also,
suitable for
oh,
a
look at this.
system.
Okay.
Okay, so this, our search experience, we've modeled a lot after Mac search
Yeah.
or Mac Spotlight search.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think if you type commits here, we should be able to get a sense of if commits
So
exist.
commits does. We have pull request commits, which makes sense.
Hmm.
And then I'm curious to see what else.
Yeah, like whichever one you want to query for,
Yeah,
you can just pick one.
I'm gonna go with the pull request commits. So I just hit enter,
Yeah.
enter to select. Yeah, it says it right there.
And I have a slight caveat for folks on this stream, which is that this schema is so massive that our search,
It's gonna take a
we
second.
have
Yeah.
a few more things to do to make it a bit more performant. So I didn't test commits ahead of time. Commits might actually just, we might have a bug. This is pre-release software.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually that's actually something really important to note here, which is okay, well it took me there. It took me to
Oh,
commits.
nice.
So it got it.
Did you pick a path or
I,
did it just do this for
no,
you?
I hit enter on the first one. This is pull request commits. So I think what I could
Okay.
do now is hit plus, right? And
Hmm.
oh, no way. This is really cool. Wow. Wow. That's wild. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a thing that's going on here with search, which is that like because the graph is cycles and you can go in cycles and yada yada yada, but every time you want to make an operation, you have to start from query, mutation, or subscription. Every time you're searching for something, what we can do is we can run a search algorithm on the graph that I think the one we do is breadth first search. It's like the most basic one where you say like what is the shortest path from query, mutation, and subscription
Yeah.
to this one node that you have selected, and it calculates the shortest path across the whole graph.
What?
And if there are multiple paths, there's a step 2 of search that will sometimes pop up where if there are multiple paths, it asks
Which
you
one?
which path you want to open the
Wild.
context in. So we can look at that
Yeah. Yeah.
in a second after we finish this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just have commits here. I'll just see like what's available on this. Oh, edges, right? Oh, and this is so we have so notice if I try to run this query, I'm probably going to have to go back and do the first on all of these because that's the way that GitHub works. But let's just do
Mhm.
whatever. We'll just get the URL. Sounds good. But let me go in here. Anywhere where you see edges and you're working with the GitHub API, you're going to have to come in and put, let's just do the first one to keep this pretty simple. Commit associated pull requests. Uh,
I'm so glad that you know the GitHub API, Kurt. I would not have known how to do
oh, I'm
that.
telling you, it's because I was doing that project I was telling you about. I spent like, I don't know, days in graphical, like figuring out this API. Yeah. Yeah. So first one. So that should get us what we want. When we run our query. Oh, expected value to not be. Oh, I did not put a login user. But it did pop it up here for me just to add. Oh, and here we go. Aw,
Wow.
Tasker.
Can't believe that worked so well.
Yeah. Wow, I haven't worked on this project in so long. Can we see one where it gives you multiple possible paths next? Yeah, so that's where we're going to try that next. I'm just very curious to know what this is. Hashing password. Yeah, that's good. Okay, that makes sense.
That does make sense.
Yeah,
I'm glad you did that.
me too. Awesome. Yeah, so let's see if we can get a situation, and I think I know how we can do that because there's multiple paths to get to repositories. You can get there through an organization, you can get there through a user. So I think maybe that would probably be something that would kick open that kind of the second level of
Yeah.
that search. Let's try it. So Command K, I'm gonna bring it up to search. I'm gonna do repository, or maybe I should do repository because then there's gonna be um, yeah, repository node repository. That sounds right. Let's do that. Oh, no paths found. So no, that's not right. Let me just try repositories.
I don't know. I know one that works definitely is if you do properties on user, like avatar or email
Let's
or
do avatar
something.
URL.
There's lots of paths to user.
Yeah, so avatar URL. Oh, and here we go. So here's all the different paths. And it's
Mm-hmm.
showing you. This is wild. So it's showing you the full path in here as well. This is really cool. Search makes
We have a
sense.
teeny tiny bug for the stream viewers in that some of our paths are repeated,
Yeah,
but
yeah, I saw that. I
it's
noticed
a
that.
simple fix. We just haven't gotten to it
Yeah,
yet.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Again, pre-release, folks, pre-release. But honestly, even if
Yeah,
you shipped it with this bug, I wouldn't care because I'd rather have three of the same result than none because that's what you get without
yeah,
Studio. So
that's fair. That's fair.
this is really awesome. Oh my gosh. So you can get there through search, you can get there through the organizations, IP allow list entries. I don't even know what this means. This is so cool. Yeah, that is awesome. Very cool. One thing, which would be interesting, would be like how the breadcrumbs work on. But I guess if you hit enter, like if I pick this, now I'm here, so it doesn't matter. I could jump from anywhere I want to within the breadcrumbs here. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, Zorg, I hope that that was a good demo for that there. So we've got node ID. I don't know what that would be. Uh,
I don't know what it would be.
But if you do know
Sorry.
and you wanted to take this path to get there, it would work. TM. This is awesome stuff. There's so much thought and care put into this. It's solving so many like real world everyday problems. It's just a very pleasing experience. This is so cool. And again, you can flip between. Yeah, this is awesome. What else? What else you want to show? Is there anything else you want to show off?
This is kind of the end of
Your demo?
the end of my like my demo, yeah, my like my list of things.
Yeah, yeah. That
Um,
okay. Do you mind if I go
but
through a couple
I think
questions about the UI and stuff like that? Also, if you're in the chat and you have some questions, please drop them now, and we'll try to get to those as well. Is
yeah,
that cool?
yeah. There's one other thing I'll add
Yeah.
as well, or maybe we should talk through it, which is how do I use Studio on my graph
Yes, that's
for folks who aren't already using Engine for their graph. Maybe we should
yeah.
walk them through how they'll use it now in pre-release, and then also how it's gonna be working.
That sounds amazing.
Cross our fingers at the end of June when we release it for real.
We had a quick question before because it's related to search, so I just want to go into that first, which
Mhm.
is it possible to search for a type instead of a field? Like, give me all paths that
Oh,
return to the repository type as opposed to the field.
great question. We have not built that yet, but we do intend to. So we
Cool.
started with just fields because fields are so directly linked to queries, and we wanted to start by focusing on helping people build
That makes
queries.
sense.
But our intention with search is to long term, not even long term, like long term after release, so like later this summer, um, build a kind of mode modifier for search. So you could imagine,
Ah,
like if you search in GitHub, you can type things like assignee colon, or if you search in Gmail, you can type things like label colon
yeah.
unread, or in Slack,
Yep.
you can type things like in colon this channel. So our intent is to introduce that here, and you'll be able to type something like type colon and then type your type name, and that'll
Interesting.
be a modifier that lets you specify type names over field
I
names.
love the idea of doing it through modifiers because that opens the door to a lot of other features. Whereas opposed if you just show types in the results, like it, one, it's going to start to become cluttered,
Yeah,
and yeah,
yeah.
two, it's limiting because then you have to just drop everything in there. Yeah, that's really cool.
We had we had a we had discussions about this where returning types in the graphical search, for example, is really useful for the folks building the schema
Yeah,
to know like the types that exist so that they can build them and continue to build them. But types are actually almost obscured from the folks querying this
yep,
schema, except for the case where you're spreading like you're picking a type for your union so you can spread it,
exactly like
or
this
you're defining a
example.
fragment.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. That's so cool. Awesome. Okay, well, I'm gonna get into. Oh no, we're gonna go over first how you would set this up and use it for your own graph, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I guess Kurt, you and I didn't prep this, but do you have a graph that you might be interested in publishing, and we can walk through that?
Let's see. So I know. I wonder if I don't have a graph. I could definitely just like spin one up and publish it super quick. Like it doesn't have to be anything. Uh,
No, it just needs like one type in one field.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, why don't we just do that? Should I just like open VS Code and like make a graph and then we're gonna deploy that to Graph Manager? Is that or are we working with it locally? What is the?
Either way, so actually, let's go to Graph Manager first. So if you just open a new tab and go to engine.apollographql.com without anything else there. Um, all right, so you can click New Graph, and well, we can pick which org you want to
Oh yeah.
add this new graph to.
I'm gonna have to do a new one because I don't know. Let's call this. So I'll choose this for
You can
now.
pick the free
Yeah,
version.
I'll choose
Yeah.
this for now. I'll sign up later. Email address.
You can invite people later. This would be
Oh, that's
inviting
I'll
other
do this
people.
later. That's other people. Got it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
No, I'm gonna invite myself. Okay, cool. So now I could do new graph, right? And then,
Yep.
all right, graph name, worst graph. Cool.
All right. So now we would just, if you want to spin up a teeny tiny Apollo server,
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
uh,
So let me open
we would basically, yeah.
VS Code here, and let me get this all resized and nice on screen for everyone to see. Okay. Oh, there we go. And move it over. Okay. So we've got that. So now, I, oh, I have a new keyboard. I got a new mechanical keyboard, and the tilde, like the in the backtick key, you have to like hit function to do it. So it's like I have to do
Um,
three keys now, function control backtick to get up the terminal, and it's like still blowing my mind. Like I just sit there staring at the keyboard for like a good 3 seconds. It is not muscle memory yet at all. Okay, so we're here. Let's CD into projects. Actually, let me do an LS. Let me see what I got in here. I might have like something that I've built like a server for, and then we could just use that. Um, let's see.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure I have something in here. Um, one of these will work. Serverless. Did I get rid of all of these? Let's do. Oh, the begin Apollo GraphQL API might work. Let's go check that out. And then ls in here. So we have a source. Okay, no, that's just some function stuff. Let's go back up, and I'll just make a new. It'll only take a second anyway. Make dir, and this will be MB Apollo Studio. Cool. So we'll go in there, and we'll say yarn init dash dash yes. Clear, and let's open this in the workspace.
You're much better at using VS Code than I am.
I've done so many of these that like it's like becoming second nature, you know. It's like, oh, let's spin up another one. I don't even remember what I called that. What did I call it? MB Apollo Studio. Cool. All right, so now we've got this. We've got a package JSON. Let's do. Oh, I have to click on this first, I guess. New file. I want to do no new files. There we go. Index.js, which is all we need. And I'm going to do like super cheat mode. I'm going to jump back here and we're going to go to the Apollo server docs because they have like a server that you can just grab like all the types and stuff like that. So let me do that. Yeah. Oops. /docs /Apollo server. Yeah, because so if we go to the get started, there's a tutorial. Yep, so we've already done that. Yeah, let's install our dependencies. So we can do that. And while that's installing, we will jump back, index.js, define our schema. We can copy this. Super simple. Paste that in there. Now we have our type defs. So we have this defined. But now we need the actual server implementation, which I believe. Okay, so we'll get some data. We'll paste that in. And then we'll define our resolvers. Oh, I need to shake Trevor's hand for this copy button. This is just making my life so much easier. Okay, let's go. Apollo server.
You can't shake people's hands right now, though.
That's a very good
Wait for there to be a vacuum.
Yeah, I got to do the Demolition Man high five. Like if anyone's seen that movie, it's like that.
Yeah.
All right, that's copied. Jump back. We have a server. Okay, save it. I don't think we have a script for this yet, so let's go into package JSON. Scripts. Start. Node index.js. Come down here. Yarn start. Server's running at 4,000. Let's jump into the browser just to verify that. And then I think it might be at /GraphQL. We have Playground. This is not that, but we can just go here. We can look at our docs. We have books, so we can test that with a query. We have title, and we have author, and we run it, and we've got data. Okay, cool. So we've got an API.
Yeah, we should be able to publish this now.
Okay. So will I have to commit this to GitHub? Or no, because I could just use the CLI. Yeah.
Yeah, you just use the CLI. If you go back to Graph Manager, it'll give you the CLI command to run.
Right here.
You should be able to just copy and paste.
How did they know?
I think you can copy the whole thing and paste it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just did. Yeah. I love copy paste. I live my life one copy paste at a time. All right. Let's make a new terminal. Oh, I should blow this up. So sorry for everyone on the stream. You might not be able to see that very well. There you go. All right. Let me run it. Oh, I wonder if I have to do. Oh, well, that was extremely fast. So for anyone who didn't get to see that because you blinked, um, what I did was I ran npx Apollo. So that's basically gonna get the Apollo CLI binary for me, so I don't have to have it installed. And then it's gonna call this service.push command. And the graph already configured is the worst graph. And then it's got like my user key, which again I'm gonna go delete. So don't try to do nothing nefarious on my worst graph, okay? And then yeah, it just I guess already knew I was gonna use localhost 4000. That's like good connection with the docs there. It's actually mind blowing because that means I just followed the tutorial for server and then went directly to Graph Manager and was able to copy the command directly out and then push that graph. What a seamless experience to get started.
Awesome.
Kudos to everybody involved there. Yeah, that was awesome. All right, cool. So let's jump back.
So click into worst graph,
Look at that.
and we haven't. So our intent to introduce Studio to the world is basically to put it in this UI that you're seeing in that left nav, to have a Studio element there.
Oh, that would be
And
awesome.
yeah, we're gonna have kind of a collapsible version of this nav so that you can
Yeah, take the full space.
have Studio and not have like 5 columns on your screen.
It's like a newspaper.
But it'll be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for now, we haven't really linked to Studio from the rest of the product because it's still pre-release. We're
Right.
still working out little tiny kinks and stuff.
Yeah.
But I have kind of put a secret-ish link that
Ooh.
many people have found. So if you go to settings,
It's like an Easter egg. So settings.
yeah.
Cool.
And then so on that top
Oops.
table where you have variants,
Ah.
see how there's a ... button on the right? You can click open it in Apollo Squares.
So sneaky.
Yeah, it's sneaky. And then it'll take you to Studio. And
Awesome.
then you can add your localhost 4000 URL at the top so Studio knows what to query.
Oh,
I think you just do
wow.
HTTP.
Oh, so you do need that. Okay. Localhost. And then do I need the /GraphQL? I would imagine.
I think so.
Yeah,
I don't
would
know.
imagine.
If that's what Playground has, then yeah.
That's what it was. Okay. So I'm going to delete this. Welcome to Studio. And now let's do this. Query books. We want to be responsible queryers. Books. Oh, and I got my autocomplete. I have my VS Code-ish editor, and then I run this. Oh, and look at that. What is that? All of 5 minutes? Is that about
something like that? Yeah.
That? That's awesome. Okay, this is really cool. So now, and that's it. Boom. Now you're up and running. And so now I have the worst graph current, which is like, here's our variant, but also still as you add more APIs or more get added to the Apollo registry as a whole, they become queryable through Studio. Can you talk a little bit more about the Apollo registry? So what does that mean, adding your graph to the Apollo registry?
Oh yeah. So like the kind of core tenet of the main product that Studio is being introduced to is the idea that you can track your schema over time by publishing your schema to the registry, and everything else is kind of built off of that. So if we were to do kind of a full product walkthrough of the other side, which you may or may not have done on other streams, we've got kind of a history tab that shows you a history of how your schema has changed over time. We've got tabs that show you information about different versions. So the whole idea is that your schema is kind of constantly evolving. And with GraphQL, there is kind of no formalized way of managing versions or kind of publishing versions or broadcasting that things are changing to the rest of your team, if that would be helpful. So we have built a product that shows you this information about your graph and brings you insights into it and kind of is the place where you can come and collaborate about the evolution of your graph, much like GitHub has done the exact same thing for source control and code control. And
Yeah,
we actually look to GitHub for a lot of inspiration on what we want to do and what we aspire to do, especially when it comes
for
to
sure.
collaboration. So the
Yeah.
Apollo registry, it's you can think of it kind of as you think of GitHub as being your code registry. We have a CLI command, Apollo service push that you can use to push your schema to our registry, run git push to push your code to your
Yep.
code registry or your like code source control registry. Um, yeah, and so
Yeah.
that's what I mean. And one of the nice things about using a registry and having having Studio be on top of it is that a lot of folks, especially for large production graphs, don't want to have introspection on as part of their production graph being
Yeah.
available, but still want their data to be accessible. And so if you're using a registry, you can have all of the information that a query window like Studio would need to give you the intelligence around
Ah,
auto-completing and stuff.
that makes
And you
so
can
much
push that to
sense.
the registry and have it, yeah, and have it like be private
Yep.
to the
Yeah.
public internet while still allowing people to come and write queries.
That makes so much sense. Awesome. Yeah, and we did. So actually, Adam Science was on the other day, and we actually went over the reporting aspect that's being added, and we talked about like the schema change notifications a little bit. But one thing we haven't done yet, which is just like all of Graph Manager. Like, there's a lot of other stuff that we didn't really get into. So I think it would be worthwhile. That's something that I'll try and set up is get someone on here and just go through all of Graph
Totally,
Manager. Yeah. Oh,
totally.
Trevor Blades in the chat. It is very cool, isn't it, Trevor? I love it. Yeah, this is awesome. So I guess now my next thing is I just had a couple questions about Studio, and again, last call
Mhm.
if you have questions about Studio, now's the time to drop those in the chat. And I won't take up too much time, but I'm noticing here like we have this like drop down. Is this because I'm logged into Graph Manager? Is that and so it's like knows who I am? So if I had multiple users, could I switch between users? Is that what that is?
Oh, that's not a user switcher. That's just like you're logged in versus you're logged out.
Got it.
The way we built Studio, it's a part of Graph Manager in that it's like deployed on the same URL, it's written in the same code base, it's just a different route in the code.
Yeah.
But to iterate on the core query building experience itself, we didn't like place Studio within Graph Manager yet, so we just kind of needed to take a shortcut in that
Got
top
it.
bar is to kind of still let you log out or go hop back to Graph Manager if you want to.
Got it. Okay, cool. And then, so that was my one question there. The other one was, I can't remember. I thought I had another one. Oh yeah, so we've already covered headers. So like if you need other custom headers or you're not using a bearer token, if anyone missed it, you could just come here and add whatever headers that you need. I'm noticing that there's like the prettify, which this is already pretty, but like if I just went like
Mm-hmm.
this and hit prettify, I'm wondering like it'd be really like how like Prettier will do that on save. Like I wonder if you could make that like automatic. I always wonder about that. Or like a command where I could
Oh,
just
yeah,
hit
like on run or
oh, there
something.
already is a command. Yeah, or on run. Yeah, but there's
I
already a
always forget
command.
what that is.
Yeah, that's
Or
option.
like Option
Yeah,
Shift or
option
Alt.
shift F. Let's try that. Option shift F. Boom. Okay. Well, I digress. Let me shut up. I'm trying to think. Oh, I did. I love this. How at the bottom it's giving you your status code and response times. That's really cool. I don't know what nan GB means as far as size.
Not a number, gigabyte.
And
That's a pun. Oops.
then here get support. So like if you hit an issue, this is where you go for that. I'm trying to think. I guess I really don't have any other questions because this is awesome. And then real quick, we've done a bunch of queries. So now if I come over here, look at this, and I can jump to any query. And it even put the variables back. Shut the front
Mhm.
door. That's amazing. I can't even. That is so cool. Wow. That is wild. But why won't it let me run it?
Me
Oh,
too. You just need to like type something in the editor. I don't
there we
know, the
go.
focus gets lost somehow.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That makes sense.
Kurt,
But
we should add you
oops.
to our QA team. Well,
Yeah,
we don't
please,
have a
please
QA
do.
team, to our
I'll be it. I volunteer as
crowdsourced
tribute.
QA.
Not sure if you covered this, but what does Studio mean for the GraphQL playground bundled with Apollo Server? That's a
Yeah,
great
that's a good
question.
question. Um, the short answer is I think that eventually we'll want to introduce Studio as an option for you to connect your local host against.
Yeah,
Um, we don't we don't intend to ship Studio in the same like package Studio in the same way that
right.
Playground is packaged. So there are always going to be people who want to be able to run offline or run on-prem, and Playground and Graphical will probably always continue to be the right solution for them, at least for a
Yeah,
while. But there are a few quick wins that I'd really like to get to probably in the late summer or fall-ish that would make Studio a much better experience running against localhost. And once we do that, then providing a path for folks to open up Studio from their Apollo server is something that I'd love to do. There are just a few things from Apollo server that would be really annoying if you use Studio for local development right now. One
yeah.
is that it is built on the registry Studio, so if you're changing things in Apollo server, you'd have to be running that CLI command every time you wanted to
Right,
query your new field.
because you'd have to
Yeah.
push that schema to the registry so that Studio could then consume that. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
We do have a feature in Apollo server called Schema Autoreg that should handle that for you. So when your Apollo server restarts, it kind of like updates the registry with
Oh,
having to run the CLI command.
that's cool. Yeah.
And once that's out and fully kind of landed in the wild, that aspect of Studio will be a lot nicer with Apollo server local development. And then the other one is just that Studio itself is not checking your server for changes. It's kind of assuming that your server is in the state
Static,
that it
a
has query.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I imagine that we'll introduce kind of a dev mode that you can toggle into that then you can maybe overwrite the default URL to be
Yeah.
localhost without changing that default URL for the rest of your team. And then if you did that,
Ah,
it would also maybe like pull localhost every couple of seconds so that you could get your changes reflected in the UI without needing to refresh the whole page.
got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a great answer. And it's like there'll always be a place for graphical and playground. There's lots of use cases for that. Like I've done things where I've done like blog posts about GraphQL, and it's nice to embed the playground or graphical right into the blog post and let people experiment with it. Actually, for a while, that's what my resume was when I first got into GraphQL. You just query it against in graphical to like find out
Like,
the information. Yeah, I had like a pre-built query so people could just hit play, but like yeah, you could explore for more, I guess is the phrase there. Yeah. But yeah, it was really fun. Maybe I should bring that back.
we should have that as like in our tutorial or something.
That's a
Maybe
really
on
good
like our
idea.
company team page.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be awesome, right? And you do a query and get some info about the teams. That'd be awesome. Yeah, okay. This is awesome. So we've got no more real questions from the chat so far. So I guess at this point, what we could do is start wrapping up. And by that, what I mean is like, is there anything else that you kind of want to share about this? Like we're talking about, again, to iterate, pre-release, folks. You can use it, but like expect there to be some issues. One thing I want to touch on, which would be like, if you do decide to use this, please, 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 we would love to get your feedback. Absolutely
Mm-hmm.
would love that. So if you go ahead and try it out and you run into something, we want this to be as awesome as it can be for everyone. Yeah, use the forum. Give us that feedback. Is there anything else you want to add on top of that?
Um, I don't think so. It's coming along, and you can probably expect it to land, like I said, late June formally, and at that point we'll update a lot of our docs to talk about it. We'll have some announcements about it. We'll have our blog post. We'll
Yeah.
have kind of a new version of the UI, a bit polished up, a bit more graph manager looking with colors, kind of all integrated and stuff.
Nice. One thing that we didn't really get to touch on too, which could be an issue. I remember hearing you talk about something about like handling CORS issues and helping people figure out what's going on if they have issues with CORS. Oh, you're back. I think I lost you
Sorry.
for a second. No
Yeah,
worries.
that was terrifying. I
That
was
was
like,
so
oh no, my
funny.
internet's going out on a stream. How
Not
embarrassing.
now, not now. I was just asking about cores, and like I just remember some conversation around there could be issues with cores that you might hit, and if you do, there's already messaging built in to kind of help you resolve
This is
that.
a
Is this?
great, yeah, I'm so glad you remembered that. So, okay, to walk folks through it,
Yeah.
one of the issues that Studio is inevitably possibly going to have with folks' graphs is a lot of folks who have security measures in place who have taken steps to protect their graph from attackers on the internet will have like an allow list, a whitelist, a safe list of URLs that are allowed to query against their endpoint
Yep.
and get results. And so if you're running Playground, it's likely that you've deployed Playground within your environment, and Playground is already allowed to query your graph. But if you want
Yeah.
to query your graph from Studio, Studio is on the apollographql.com domain, and so it's very possible that your requests might be rejected the first time you try to run them if your company has configured this policy. And so actually, Kurt, if we go back to your worst graph
Yeah.
and change the endpoint URL to be something that's not actually running. Sorry, in Studio.
Oh, in Studio. Sorry. Yeah, let's do that. So if we go back here. Oh, and we change. I think I closed that window. Let me open that back up. Sorry about that. And then I get there from settings, and then I go to my current version. Boom.
Yeah.
And now you're saying
Okay.
change this?
Yeah, if you change it to port 3000 or like 4001 or something that's
Yeah.
not actually running, it can simulate the error.
Oh, cool.
And
Okay.
then if
So
you try and run your query,
yeah. So let me put a query back in here. So I'll just do this in the short term. I think it was books. Yep. Boom. And then what was the other one? Title. Yep. Cool. And
it'll,
run.
yeah. So you'll
There
get
we
this
go.
little window. And what we've tried to do with the little pop-up is just walk you through what some of the issues might be. In this case, the issue is that the URL we provided
Totally
is
incorrect.
like the server isn't running. But some folks might have issues with cores, and if you have an issue with cores, the error that you will like you can open up the console for this whole application, and it'll give you an error giving a bit more specifics about what the issue is.
Yeah. Let's see.
In
Here we
this
go.
one,
Well, this
it's
is
error
connection refused. Yeah.
yeah.
But in the case of a CORS policy, it would be something like cross-origin request blocked, and then you would know.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. That makes sense. And let me just zoom in on that for the folks at home. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. I'm trying to think. Other questions. I think that's it for me. I don't have any more questions. Uh, Definitely impressive stuff. This, again, one more time, but you can tell how much like thought and care has gone into this, and I just love when it's like it's fun to be able to explore the graph. But this said, okay, we can explore the graph, but now here's the problems that you face when you're doing that. How can we make
Hmm.
that easier? How can we, make that better for everyone? It's super
Hmm.
impressive. I cannot wait for this. I mean, I'm already going to start using it now, but
I'm excited.
yeah, I can't wait for, production release and the whole world to adopt this. This is so cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I
Thanks for
guess.
walking through it with me.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on the stream and showing this to myself and everyone who's here with us. And yeah, I guess that wraps it up for me. It's also Friday, so we got no other upcoming streams. Next week we are starting back off Monday morning with Orbit. So if you want to see what's going on in GraphQL, make sure to tune in and join us at 9 a.m. PST. And then also, before we go, I do just want to talk about GraphQL Summit worldwide, 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 worldwide. Yeah, so GraphQL Summit is back. It is happening July 30th and 31st, and August 6th and 7th. And here is a link in the chat. So please go register for that. You're not going to want to miss this. As I mentioned, it's
It's
completely
free.
free. Yeah, it's absolutely free. We're going to have great talks, great discussions. There will be, of course, Apollo Core team. A lot of people from the GraphQL ecosystem, including like other companies and a lot of other stuff that is all related. And I know I'll be there, and Danielle will be there, and Trevor will be there, and we would love to hang out with you and chat and learn about everything that you're doing, or help you figure out what you're trying to do. And yeah, it should be a lot of fun. And again, it's free, so come on down, come register, hang out with us. But yeah, that's it. That's all I've got. And so I think with that, yes, register. That's right. Thank you, Trevor. I love it. Yeah, so with that, that's going to wrap it up for us. And I guess we could say goodbye to everybody at home, and thank you for hanging out with us. And yeah, no problem, John. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in. And with that, I guess we'll see y'all later.
Have a good weekend.